Hello and welcome back to Rev Real Estate School. I'm your host, Michael Montgomery, and today we're talking about three things. We're talking about content burnout, content ideas, and content creation fear in real estate. So these are three very important concepts. When we're dealing with content burnout, honestly, when it comes to content creation, it can feel like we're on a treadmill, like a conveyor belt. Like every day we just have to be creating more and more. And this, of course, is because algorithms do tend to prioritize new over evergreen content. So what can we do in order to improve this? So firstly, when it comes to burnout, this is what you need to do. Take a week off of posting, not creating. And now you're going to be a week ahead. So let me explain this. Instead of actually creating and then posting, just create content. You spend a week just doing your normal cadence of content creation, but don't post. Do this every 2 to 3 months. And then from there, now you are a week ahead. This takes a lot of pressure off of us to just be creating and waking up every morning and be like, what am I going to create today? This helps considerably is just taking that 1 week break. And no, it does not have any impact on your followers and your engagement. In fact, what we've seen is it improves it. And this maybe is because there's a break, but more likely what's happening here are agents are just spending more time focusing on the content that they like to create, and they're creating better content. So this week off strategy works very well. The next strategy is the content creation day. So what you're going to do in this case is you're going to choose 1 day a week, and during that day of the week, you're not going to prospect, you're not going to follow up with leads, you're not going to do any work outside of course, if you're dealing with a client or something like that. You are going to just create content. Now, a lot of our agents focus on Fridays. That's just a day that seems to work best for them, but you can choose any day of the week, and mostly you're going to need around 4 hours. So you're going to block off 4 hours. Now, what you're going to do during this time is nothing except for content creation. This, again, takes a lot of pressure off of us to wake up every day and create content. You just have your one content creation day, and then you are set for the week. And then you can, of course, use a scheduler and just plan it out, or you can just wake up in the morning and instead of having to think of what do I create, now it's just which one do I want to post today. It makes life a lot easier. Now, finally, with burnout, don't be too hard on yourself if you miss a day. You can take this from Atomic Habits, James Clear's book. You can miss 1 day, but you can't miss 2. This is a fantastic framework. So as soon as we start to miss 2 days or 3 days, now we've really started to form this habit of not creating content. Now, all of us are going to miss 1 day, but the real key here is if you do miss 1 day, then ensure the next day that you're back on the horse and you're creating content. So you can always miss 1 day. That's fine. You just can't miss 2. Let's now talk about ideas. So what should we create as real estate agents? Well, one of the first things that you can do, there's a lot of how-tos out there. This is how to buy a house. This is how to price a house. This is how to stage a home. This is how to go through an inspection. All you're going to do is instead of saying how to, change it to how I price homes, how I stage homes, how I go through an inspection with a buyer. Now, this is instantly going to become more engaging because instead of just a general how-to guide, it's now putting your own personal spin on it. It's also going to make the idea generation a lot easier because instead of you trying to think through, okay, what are the steps to pricing a home? You just think back to your own experience and you say, this is how I go about doing it. Let's look at an example of this. How to price homes. A lot of folks will focus on price per square foot. You can focus on price per square foot, but I would also suggest focusing on features. Not bad, but could be a lot more engaging. How I price homes. I don't focus on price per square foot at all. Instead, I focus on the features of the home. Now that instantly becomes more engaging. And all we've done there is we've transitioned from how to how I. Next, follow local news and comment on it. Now, this does require us to be timely. If something's happening in your community, in your town, you want to actually be reporting on it and commenting on it. So by reporting on it, you're saying, this is what's happened, and then this is my take. Now, we want to watch out, of course, when there's very polarizing issues, and then we may just want to be reporting more. But if there's something where you can have a take, like new community was just released, this is what it means to people who live in the area. That's an interesting piece of content. It's very timely as well. So these tend to generate a lot more growth, a lot more views, a lot more engagement with this timely type of content. Next, highlight local businesses. Now, all real estate agents are local business owners. And have you ever had a client post on social and be like, thank you so-and-so so much. You had such a great experience. They've taken a photo of their new home and they've recommended you. That's felt amazing. And so we can do this to businesses all the time. A local coffee shop, a local restaurant, a local store. If we have a good experience, and this doesn't have to be professionally done. This can just be a quick photo. Here's what I got. Had a great experience. Highly recommend this company. Now you've just made that company owner's day, if not week. week by doing that. And then highly likely that they will share this content and you'll be able to leverage their audience as well as your own. It's a really good strategy. And of course, because real estate is local, this works very well. Next, behind the scenes. So a lot of times we think as real estate agents that, oh, we're just doing a boring CMA, but that's not the case. People find what we do, and it's probably because real estate's interesting, but also because the career is interesting. People want to know what we're doing behind the scenes. So Gary Vee says, document, don't create. It's the same concept here. And we are just documenting what's going on behind the scenes. Now, I find this works extremely well when it comes to Instagram or Facebook stories in particular. And these we really should be prioritizing because a lot of folks will just open up Instagram and start to scroll through stories. And so because of this, this can be a really, really good strategy. And finally, borrowing content from other real estate agents. Now, again, we're local. So if somebody's doing something interesting across the country from you, you can borrow that concept and then recreate it. Now, there's one of two things that you can do here. If it's extremely close to what that agent's doing, I'd recommend reaching out to them and say, hey, is it okay if I do something similar to this? 99 times out of 100, they're going to say, absolutely. And they're also going to feel very good about the fact that they're creating something that you also want to imitate. That's one of the highest forms of flattery, as we know. And so this can work very, very well. The alternative is sometimes somebody's going to create something and you're going to have a little bit of a different spin on it, in which case you're kind of creating your own type of content and there's less of a need potentially to reach out. But this is a great strategy. We don't have a national housing market. We have very local, even hyper local real estate markets. And because of that, we can leverage content that we see and that we like out there in the world. Okay, and finally, how do we deal with the fear of content creation as real estate agents? There's a few strategies here. The first one is this, is if you're quite concerned about creating content, just start in the comments. Just start commenting. And there are companies out there that are growing like crazy purely off of their commenting strategy. They have these witty, funny remarks that they use in the comments. Those comments get upvoted, and then from there, that drives growth to their page. It's an amazingly interesting strategy. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be witty or you have to paint outside the lines completely, but this just gets us in the habit of actually hitting post, even in the comment section. Now, everyone should be commenting on a very frequent basis, even if you're very comfortable creating content. However, this strategy, if you have a little bit of content creation fear, gets you used to using the platform and hitting post. The next strategy, this one works extremely well. You're going to start creating content, but you're not going to post it. So instead of thinking whatever you create now has to actually sit on Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube, you're just going to create the content and it's just going to sit there. You have no pressure whatsoever to post it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, isn't this a huge waste of time? Well, it's not, because you are becoming more comfortable with the concept of the creation side. And what you're going to notice eventually is you're going to be creating content and you're going to be like, well, hey, this is actually pretty good. I might as well just put it out there. I'm putting the work in anyways, and then you'll start to post it. So there's no real time frame to this. There's no like you have to start this and then within a week you're actually starting to post, or in a month or in a quarter. That's not the case. Instead, you just want to start the cadence, and this can be done by way of the one content creation day that we discussed. And then from there, when you're comfortable, start posting. It's going to happen sooner than you would think. Oftentimes this will happen in a few weeks' time. You're going to see something you like that you've actually created and you're just going to put it out there. Finally, this actually wraps everything up, including the burnout, including the ideas and the fear. Instead of thinking of like, what is the content that I have to create? And I'm very scared about what type of content's going to land, just be a scientist. And what I mean by that is just use data to inform it. So you are just going to create different types of content out there. You're going to look at what gets the most engagement, what gets the most views, and you're going to double down on that. So what this allows you to do, if you have any fear around content creation, is it allows you to take the pressure off of every post being a total banger. It doesn't have to be. Instead, you actually want a few that don't produce well, because that is data that you can then use to inform the direction of your content creation efforts. So when you think of it more like a scientist than, hey, I need to be a perfectionist and every post needs to just totally hit, you now drop the pressure that you put on yourself to create content perfectly. Thanks very much for watching this. You can reach out anytime at revrealestateschool.com. See you in the next lesson.